Good morning. It is Sunday, May 3rd. We were able to meet this morning, and a few of us anyway that were able to get out. So this is the first time we've met in quite a few weeks. We decided that we're going to go ahead and put out a video because not everybody can be with us at this time. There are still those that are at high risk, those that don't need to be exposed, that are more comfortable at this time staying in. So we're going to go ahead and for the next few weeks anyway, we're going to record our Sunday morning service, and we will edit that and put that out on Sunday. It'll be a little later than you're used to. We normally have been recording this on Saturdays and editing and then publishing it so that it's available Sunday morning early. Because of having to record it, it's going to be a little later in the day. So we will get it out there to you. It will just be a little bit later. But we want to make sure that our members who can't be with us are still staying connected to the congregation, staying informed of what's going on, and make sure that we're encouraging you. So we will do this for the foreseeable future. If you're able, we are meeting 9:30 for class and 10:30 for worship on Sunday mornings only. We're not having Sunday evening services or Wednesday evening services for right now. And we have set up the building so that we can maintain social distancing. We've got every other pew blocked off. We've done the communion in a way that we're not passing trays. So we're doing everything we can to minimize the possibility of spreading anything. So if you're comfortable, please come and join us on Sunday mornings. If you're not, though, we will have this out here as an option. I have a few announcements. We want to make sure everybody's kind of aware of what's going on and stays connected to the congregation. We have quite a few on our hospital and prayer list that we want to make you aware of. Bill Williams, the husband of Ima Williams, has begun dialysis. That's a good thing. I think Rita said that his kidney function was at 7%, and so they were having a little trouble. He had surgery and was having to heal up from that. He was in quite a bit of distress, but he has begun dialysis now, which is a good thing for him and for Ima as well. Please pray for Iola Caldwell. She is in the hospital, or has been in the hospital, with a colon infection and sodium deficiency. She's back home now recovering, but keep her in your prayers at this time. Linda Webster, her health is continuing to decline, so please keep Linda Webster in your prayers as well. Oliver Grider is home with hospice, and his health is rapidly declining. Geneva is home with him, trying to care for him the best that she can. So please keep Geneva and Oliver in your prayers as well. I have a couple of prayer requests for Charlotte Folks' family. Daryl Janko is undergoing cancer treatments, and we need to pray for him. And also she has a nephew, Michael Haggard, that has brain cancer, and the doctors have only given him 5 months to live. But please keep Michael Haggard in your prayers. Bonnie Newcomb, the mother of Bill Newcomb, fell this week and broke her hip. She is at Healthplex. They did a surgery. The surgery was successful, and she is recovering. And we're thankful for that, but pray that she just continues to recover well and that she'll be able to come home soon. Also, was told this morning that Ty Adcock may have been exposed to COVID-19 by a coworker at work, and he is going to isolate at home for a while until they find out if that coworker is positive and if he's been exposed. And so we're praying that Ty has not been exposed, and even if he has, that he did not catch that, so that he and his family would be well at this time. So if there are others that we've missed, please let us know, and we will get them added to the prayer list. I do have one note of sympathy this week. Jen Leslie, a longtime member at Noble, she had moved away in recent years to be closer to her family so they could assist with her. She passed away recently. So please keep the family of Jen Leslie in your prayers. If you have any needs, please let us know. If there's anything we need to add to the prayer list, please let us know. The clothing house is going to remain closed for the foreseeable future. If you know of anybody that has an individual need, please let us know. We can open that on an individual basis. If you have anything that you need that you can't find, things that are unavailable, please let us know, and we can put some people to work looking for those things and helping you get those things you need. If you need communion supplies, let us know. We'll get those to you. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe, and we look forward to the opportunity to be together again with you soon.
Peace, perfect peace, in this dark world of sin. The blood of Jesus whispers peace.
song of delight, that city so bright, when we left in the heavens fair home. How the ransom will raise, happy songs in His praise, when all of God's singers get home. When all of God's singers get home, where never a sorrow will come. There'll be no place like home, when all of God's singers get home. As we sing here on earth, songs of sadness or mirth, 'tis a foretaste of rapture to come. But our joy can't compare with the glory up there, when all of God's singers get home. When all of God's singers get home, where never a sorrow will come. There'll be no place like home, when all of God's singers get home. Having overcome sin, hallelujah, amen, will we carry that land for the home. Every heart will be light, every face will be bright, when all of God's singers get home. When all of God's singers get home, where never a sorrow will come. There'll be no place like home, when all of God's singers get home.
Certainly good to see each and every one of you here this morning. I haven't said that for over a month. It's a wonderful experience to be able to say that, see you here, and to sing together. That's different. Haven't experienced that for over a month also. So this morning I want to go over some things about when we look at that, a cheerful look brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the body. You know, there's a lot of bad news out there. Is there any good news? Well, sometimes you have to really search, you have to really look for the good news. It seems like during this COVID-19 pandemic that we're having, scare, you could say, there's a lot of bad news out there. And it seems like normally the news media tries to look at the weeds and the debris in life. And it seems even more so now, looking at that, although there are little stories of good news that we can see out there occasionally. My wife and I were walking around two ponds with our dogs. I guess it was Friday morning. And as we were walking, I call this good news. We saw some of God's creation. We saw a couple of goslings that you can see there. I don't know if you can see the little guys there. And I don't know what that is back there. But those are the two geese that we saw. And as we continue to walk around the ponds, we also saw some turtles, of all things. And they were sunbathing. I don't know how many of them there were. And it was that Friday morning that we also saw, we looked up in the sky and we saw this flyover taking place. And it was from Vance Air Force Base, coming down from Enid, all these different planes going over the health of the hospitals to honor those healthcare workers that was there. That was good news also. And so you keep looking. I was looking for some good news, and I found something in Connecticut also. There were some firemen that were called to a rescue. A rescue of what? Well, of a dog that was stuck under you can see a stairwell. They worked 30 minutes on trying to get that dog out, and then they handed it to its master. Now, I'm looking at that and I'm saying that's good news, because what do you think those firemen would do with people? If they would spend 30 minutes, work hard to try to rescue these little animal, little dog, I know they would do that with people too. I also saw some good news about a taxi cab driver He was taking patients to the hospital in Madrid, Spain. He was doing it without any charge. He was just doing it as a goodwill gesture to people to bring them there. The hospital found out about it. One day he came in with a patient, and they gave him an envelope. They also gave him a lot of applause. This envelope had some money in it to kind of compensate for what he was doing, but also the result of his COVID-19 test, which ended up being negative, which was nice for him. Another interesting little story that I saw had to do with Tom Moore. Did you know that Tom Moore turned 100 on April 30th? 100. Now, several weeks ago, he decided that he was going to live in England, and he was going to try to take his walker and walk around his backyard garden 100 laps. He had this big milestone coming, and he had kind of like a GoFundMe page set up, and his goal was 1,000 pounds, about $1,250. Within the first day, $8,750 was donated. The first day. And so he was going to walk about 10 laps each day for 10 days to reach 100. And he ended up doing that in 6 days, about 17 laps a day. And by the end of 6 days, there was $15 million donated. He decided he could keep walking. And then a couple of days later, there were 23 million. Last Thursday, I guess it was, April 30th, he turned 100. And he received 125,000 happy birthday cards. Also, the donations kept coming in, $37 million to help healthcare people. That's in Great Britain. Well, I call that good news, don't you? I like good news like that. When we focus on it, what happens? Well, this proverb says that he who seeks good finds good will, but evil comes to him who searches for it. And also, like the proverb says, a cheerful look brings joy to the heart. Good news gives health to the body. It's important for us to be looking for the good news. And sometimes we have to make a special effort to see the good news. And when we do that, God says that is healthy for us. Healthy for our body. So I think we've got good news here today. We remember what Jesus did for us through his great sacrifice on the cross, the Lord's Supper. We've been singing these songs of praise. We've been praying to God. That's all good news. It's all healthy for us. With all the good news in mind, I want us to look at a good man. A man that I would say was an optimistic man. A man of great faith. A man who you could call an 85-year-old optimist. Do you remember him? Well, remember when the 12 spies were going into the Promised Land? And they were all going in there, and they came back with a report about how wonderful it was. According to Numbers chapter 13, send some men to explore the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the Israelites. From each ancestral tribe, send one of its leaders. And when they reach the valley of Escol, they cut off a branch bearing a single cluster of grapes. 2 of them carried it on a pole between them, along with some pomegranates and figs. They gave Moses this account. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit. They came back, 10 of them said, hey, we can't take the land. They said, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there. Then, and he wasn't 85 years old at that time, but then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said that we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And guess how they describe themselves? We seem like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and we look the same to them. Now, what side of this picture would you say about those 10 spies? to the pessimist. I don't even think the cup was half empty. It wasn't half full. We find the optimism, enthusiasm, and faith of Caleb and Joshua wasn't enough to overcome the pessimism, the doom, the gloom of the others. Pessimism can be very contagious. The 10 doubters persuaded all of Israel their way, and only 2 believed that they, with the help of God, could take the promised land. Caleb was one of them. These spies influenced the people to such a degree that they wondered why God brought them to this land. To take us to this land, to go into that land and let the inhabitants destroy us. Why is he doing this? And they were so angry with Moses and Aaron and Caleb and Joshua that they were ready to stone them to death. So Caleb said, the land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Caleb was an optimist, wasn't he? He really was. God canceled that generation's trip into the promised land, didn't he? Because of their doubt and their anemic faith that they had in God. God would allow the next generation to go into the promised land, which meant that there were only 2 that we know of that generation who went into the promised land, and it was Joshua and Caleb. And they didn't enter the next day, did they? But 40 years later, before they went in, they were the oldest Israelites to go into the promised land. God says, not one of those who saw my glory and the signs I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times, not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their ancestors. No one who has treated me with contempt will ever see. But because my servant, Caleb, has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it. So eventually, 40 years later, they go into the promised land. There's 4 years of fighting. They conquer 31 kings. So Joshua and the entire land, just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war. Joshua 11, verse 23. And so Joshua chapter 14 introduces us in that book to this man, to Caleb. And we've heard of him when you read the book of Numbers, 40 years before this. Now it's 45 years later. And he's in that land. And he's ready to take that land. We find in Numbers chapter 14, but because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land that he went to, and his descendants will inherit it. That was how God described him 45 years before. He had a different spirit. He had a wholehearted, committed attitude toward God. And spirit isn't really a mysterious word. When you look at spirit, it's basically saying, carrying the idea of an attitude that a person has. For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and of self-control or self-discipline. You could say that that's a spirit of courage, that it is not a spirit of being afraid, but of courage described as power, love, and self-discipline or self-control. So spirit is used to describe an attitude that we are given from God. We find that Joshua sent in 2 spies. They were to go into Jericho to spy out that city. And of course, that's where they came across Rahab. And Rahab was telling the spies what the people were thinking. We have heard of it. Our hearts melted, and everyone's courage, was that word, spirit or breath, fell because of you. So in a sense, whenever they heard about what had happened to these two kings of the Amorites, Og and Sihon, and how they were destroyed, and they were coming, they were approaching the promised land, the land of Canaan, then she says that they were thinking, the people there, that everyone's courage failed because of you. In other words, they had the wind knocked out of them. That's what happened. And they had no courage whatsoever. And so here is the same word that's used to kind of describe a disposition that a person has, an attitude. And that had to do with Samson. Sometimes it means catching your second wind. Remember that time that Samson found that new jawbone of a donkey? And he fought against 1,000 Philistines and destroyed them, killed them. And then he was exhausted. Of course he would be exhausted after that. And he's sitting there and he is thirsty and he asked the Lord for a blessing for his help. Then God opened up a hollow place in Lehi. And water came out of it. When Samson drank, his strength, and there's that word, or breath, or spirit, returned, and he was revived. And you can just imagine after defeating 1,000 Philistines that he caught a second wind. His attitude or breath returned. And he was thus revived and was able to continue. When we think about this, spirit is an attitude of getting up when we get knocked down. And I think we can learn this early. That when we're young, we fall down, we get back up. And we keep doing it. That's the way it should be in life. And so often we come across real difficult parts of life. Real difficulties facing us. Really stressful events. And sometimes people get knocked down because of that. And they just don't get up. But those who are righteous, we're told, from God, they never give up. Do not lie in wait like an outlaw against a righteous man's house. Do not raid his dwelling place. For though a righteous man falls 7 times, he rises again, but the wicked are brought down by calamity. So says Proverbs 24, 15, and 16. You find this word also spirit? It has to do with illness. A man's spirit sustains him in sickness, but a crushed spirit who can bear? The kind of attitude we have when we face sickness and illness really makes a difference. And I've seen some people that have endured so much pain, so much suffering, and they still endure it. But then I've seen so many other people that whenever they face, just a common cold, I don't know about a common cold, but it seems like they just give up. They're crushed. They have a crushed spirit, a crushed attitude. And the answer to that question about the crushed spirit, who can bear? No one. That's the answer to that. We've seen that in all of this about the spirit that Caleb had. He had a different spirit. And we can choose our spirit. We can choose our attitude. Change one's attitude in the most difficult of circumstances. Who comes to your mind who did that? Well, it wasn't Jesus. Jesus didn't change his attitude, did he? But there were 2 thieves or insurrectionists, rebels, on both sides of him. They mocked him. They put him down. And then it came to the point of one of them realizing what they were doing and realizing that they deserved what they were getting, but not this man. He turned to Jesus and said, "Remember me when you come in your kingdom." You remember what Jesus said to him? "Today you will be with me in paradise." Well, he changed his attitude, didn't he? In the most difficult of situations on the cross. When I look at this picture, I think of Caleb for some reason. Cactus endures the most desolate of surroundings. And isn't that what Caleb did for 40 years, wandering in the wilderness? Of course, God was providing for them during that time. But it wasn't scenic. It wasn't a beautiful place where he was. I'm kind of reminded of what Paul said when he's in prison in Rome, chained to a Roman soldier. He says, I'm not saying this because I'm in need, for I've learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned to say to be content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or want. I get everything through Him who gives me strength. And you know who gave Caleb strength? God gave Caleb the strength he needed too. And so here he was, wandering in the wilderness. Optimistic, faithful Caleb endured 40 years in the wilderness until all the generations that rejected the Lord passed, except for him and Joshua. In Joshua 14 says this, Now the men of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal. And Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, said to him, You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, at Kadesh Barnea about you and me? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. And I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my brothers who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt with fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day, Moses swore to me, The land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. His attitude was an attitude of wholehearted commitment to God, and that made the difference. So he served the Lord. How did he serve the Lord? He served with commitment, with confidence, and with courage. Not just when it was convenient, not with doubt, not with timidity, but with commitment, confidence, and courage is how he served the Lord. He had a different spirit about him. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. 45 years earlier, he and Joshua were the only two of the 12 spies who believed God was giving them the land. And because of that, the whole assembly threatened to stone Moses, Aaron, Joshua, and Caleb. And when Caleb says wholeheartedly, he meant it. Another form of the word would be fully. Here's how the word is used elsewhere. The word was full of violence. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled, is full with violence. Because of them, I am surely going to destroy them, both them and the earth. Now that's one negative way of looking at it, wholehearted or full. But here's a more positive way of looking at it. We find that in Psalm 33, verse 5, the statement is made that the Lord loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of His unfailing love, that we even see it in His creation. His unfailing love, full of His unfailing love. When Caleb says wholeheartedly, he means full. His commitment isn't half full or three-fourths full, but it was full, wholehearted commitment to God. And so then Caleb silenced the people before Moses. He said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. That statement is a statement of wholehearted commitment, of full commitment that he had. And his commitment never changed. He was the same 45 years later. He still had that full commitment, that wholehearted commitment. We can be thankful for Jesus' commitment on the cross for us. And I think when we reflect upon His great sacrifice that He made for us, that will help us to have that kind of commitment that Caleb had as well. For you have been bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body. So writes Paul to the church at Corinth. Remembering that will help us to keep our commitment to Jesus as well. You may remember in Ecclesiastes 11, verse 1, there's a statement. It says, cast your bread upon the waters. For after many days you will find it again. And another way of looking at that might be this way. Ship your grain across the sea. After many days you will receive a return. It's a merchandise transaction that's taking place here. It's one way of looking at it. But you see that after many days you will receive a return. Caleb's attitude and his devotion brought him good results. Not in many days, but in many years. 45 years. He finally inherited that land that was promised to him. Paul says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Galatians 6, verse 9. I like Caleb's attitude when he says, so on that day, Moses swore to me, the land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. We see that he had some setbacks, don't we? Caleb had a setback in reaching that goal. A 40-year setback. Walking in the wilderness until that generation died. We too can get expected, or maybe unexpected, delays and challenges. But Caleb had the kind of attitude where he was not going to give up. The kind of attitude I think that Paul writes to the church at Rome for that church to have. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Romans 12, verse 11. So 40 years in the wilderness. How could he stay so optimistic for all that time, for all those decades? Well, there's several ways. Here's three of them that I see in his life. There was love, there was trust, and there was hope that he had. We see that love. He knew of God's love for them. We find in Exodus chapter 1, verse 34, that I have, this is God speaking, I have indeed seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. I have heard their groaning, and have come down to set them free. Caleb saw that with all the plagues that took place. He was there. He experienced that. He experienced the Exodus. He experienced the parting of the Red Sea. He experienced all that took place. And he believed in God. He believed in his love for him and for his people. And so love was one thing that motivated him. For us, I think we can think about this. It's what Paul wrote to the church at Rome. He said, you see, at just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous man, though for a good man someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That's love, isn't it? And I think that helps us to endure when we think of the great love that God has for each one of us. He also trusted in God. The proverb says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll make your paths straight. When you look at that word trust, kind of the foundation, the background for that word is the idea of a sense of security, of safety, of confidence. Doesn't that describe, Caleb, to you? Confidence, a sense of security, a sense of safety on his part. One other thing that helped him to endure those 40 years in the wilderness, well, I think it was hope. The hope that had been given to him about that land that he was going to inherit someday. When he walked in there as a spy, and what he saw was going to be given to him, a certain area of that land. Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved out of the desert. So here I am today, 85 years old. Caleb is remembering that promise, isn't he? It's giving him hope. It's giving him confidence. It's giving him a sense of security. Hope in the future brings strength to the present. And it was a hill country of Hebron, and Mount Hebron that he was promised. Hope is something that we all need. It gives us power. It strengthens us for daily living. Reading stories like this can also give us hope when we think about men like Caleb. Paul, when he writes to the church at Rome, he says, "For everything that was written in the past was written to teach us, so that through the endurance and encouragement of the Scriptures, we might have what? Hope. That we might have hope." And so we see this giving us hope. How God treated Caleb is how he treats us. God kept his promise to Caleb, and God keeps his promises to us as well. Another way of thinking about this is this way, when we think about hope. The statement is made in Proverbs 24:13 and 14, "Eat honey, my son, for it is good. Honey from the comb is sweet to your taste. Know also that wisdom is sweet to your soul." If you find that there's a future hope for you, and your hope will not be cut off. And so we find this wisdom, we use this wisdom, and we've seen it. The love, trust, hope, an attitude of optimism, a wholehearted devotion, that is all God's wisdom. The skill for living. There is hope for us. We can choose our attitude, whether we're going to be pessimistic or optimistic. And we can build more confidence by trusting in God's instructions on how to live and focusing on the promises that he gives us. And so hope points to the light. I like light. I don't like pitch darkness, do you? We can see. We can get around when there's light. Hope gives us that. Hope keeps us going. And hope strengthens us. When we are trapped in a tunnel of misery, hope points to the light at the end. And so Joshua, or Caleb says, "Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years. Since the time he said this to Moses while Israel moved about in the desert. So here I am today, 85 years old." I like his attitude at the age of 85, don't you? I hope I can have that kind of attitude if I ever make it to that age. Here's something for us to think about what Paul wrote to the church of Corinth. He said, "Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." And so just think about Caleb, the kind of attitude that he had. "I, however, follow the Lord my God wholeheartedly." He had a different spirit. It was a spirit of optimism. Again, I like this proverb. It says, "A cheerful look brings joy to the heart, and good news gives health to the body." I hope that looking at the good news of Caleb, all of the experience, the kind of attitude that he had, the kind of spirit of optimism that he had, his full devotion to God, has been good news to all of us. And when we look for the good news, we'll find it. We find it in God's creation, just like I was showing you the goslings, the little baby geese, the turtles. We see all of that. We see the people saving the little dog. That's good news. We see the taxi cab driver taking people to the hospital without pay, just out of the kindness of his heart. We see that man walking, 99 years old, trying to help healthcare workers. And just taking little steps by doing that. He thought he could come up with maybe a $1,250. Because of what he was doing, it motivated so many people to give that $37 million was donated. I don't know how many people donated, but I know it was many. So this is all good news for us. And by focusing on the good news during this time, this COVID-19 pandemic, and thinking about all the illness that there can be, the sickness that there can be out there. But look, when we look at the good news, it's a healthy thing to do. It builds our spirit, and that comes from God. Good news gives health to your body. The best news of all is the great love that Jesus has for us and what he was willing to do on the cross for us. How he was willing to lay down his life for us. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. But we see the definition of love is Jesus laying down his life for us. And that's the good news that we can always think about and remember, and how he loves us so much. But if you've never come to Jesus, never experienced his love and kindness in the way that he washes our sins away, and you can do that this morning. You can come to him and meet him in the waters of baptism, where he'll meet you as your master, your savior, and wash your sins away, or whatever might be your need this morning. Once you come as we stand and as we sing.
Savior, lead me lest I stray. Gently lead me on the way. I'm safe when by thy side. I would in thy love abide. Lead me. Savior, lead me lest I stray. Gently down the stream of time, lead me, Savior, all the way. Thou, the refuge of my soul, when stormy billows roll, I am safe when thou art nigh. All my hopes on thee rely. Lead me. Savior, lead me lest I stray. Gently down the stream of time, lead me, Savior, all the way. Savior, lead me then at last, when the storm of life is past, to the land of endless day, where our tears are wiped away. Lead me. Savior, lead me lest I stray. Gently down the stream of time, lead me, Savior, all the way.
Pray. Almighty God, our Father in heaven, Father, we're so thankful for the privilege of assembling together again to worship you and praise you in song, Father. We pray that our worship has been pleasing to you. We're thankful that we can assemble as your children once again together, brothers and sisters in Christ, and have fellowship. We ask you to be with those that were unable to attend, Father, because of health and other reasons. Just be with them and bring back at the next point in time. Deepen our love for you, deepen our faith, deepen our love for those who are outside of Christ. Go with us now and bring us back again soon. In the name of Jesus we pray.